Ebola entered Liberia in March, and to date, over 3,000 deaths in Liberia. So many children have been orphaned. Many homes have been broken. Traditional customs are taboo. Ebola is still real and killing people. The private sector and the international community are needed. Reach out to us. Help us to make Liberia a better place.
We've gone from worse to better, as if I could describe it, but we are not over yet. There were exponential increase in the number of Ebola cases in Liberia, where we're reporting maybe 100 confirmed cases per week. Today, we have 20 to 50 cases suspected, probable, and confirmed cases. But if you took confirmed cases per day in Liberia, it's between 5, 10 to 15 cases. It fluctuates. But we've seen the leveling of the disease. That is, it's leveled down. We're not going up, but we're not coming drastically down with the number of 10 cases per day. The private sector has a critical role to play. We've been seeing Firestone Liberia running an ETU, the first ETU in the central western region. Then you have Aslo Metal. This is a great company that have been donating ambulances for the response. They've been supporting contact tracing. They bought the first set of PPEs when we were talking about April, May, and June. National Port Authority has been in the vanguard supporting Ebola response. Banks in this country, UBA, Global Banks, EcoBank, GT Bank. So this is private sector support.
Well, it's interrupted our entire agenda for transformation. We were really gearing up for the dry season when we can really get our major development work done, our roads and our power, new power plants were all set to be completed, installation completed, and so all of those stopped.
Psychologically also it's had an impact. The country to some extent has been stigmatized globally. The message out there has not been so good, especially in the early days. So we have suddenly seen a general drop.
The economy of the country has been badly affected by Ebola. Most of the key sectors of the economy are driven by expatriates. At the height of the epidemic, a lot of them scaled down and left, and most of them are still out of the country. So that affected the volume of business that we do.
How important do you feel the private sector is in this fight?
Very important, because most economic activity that are largely propelled by the private sector have been affected by this. It means their operations, the profits, the jobs and things they would create, their own ability to remain stable are all affected. And so the private sector needs to really come in partnership with the government of the countries affected and see how we can respond to the epidemic as quickly as possible.
What more would you like to see them do?
What we want them to do is to get our economic operations functioning again. We need those investors to come back. We need the contractors to come back, and we need for those companies to take the decision that is and have a time frame that says when the conditions reach level X, we're going to make sure that they come back. Invoking force majeure in a circumstance like this is not in our interest or theirs, and they should also initiate a very effective dialogue on a program of return that's time bound. We just don't want to say we're sending you some assistance, no. Let's sit at the table and determine, okay, where we've reached in the level of control of the epidemic, what kind of safeguards, what kind of protocol they can put in place to minimize any risk they would take on their return, and how can we then make sure that we, in partnership, ensure their safety when they return to work. That's the kind of support and partnership that we want, that goes beyond any financial and technical assistance.
One of the priorities, and I don't think this has taken up, and I think we need to actually look at it, is pool funding for special Ebola needs. Actually, what it means is that members of the EPSMG pooling their resources to support a particular project or activity to support the Ebola response. Now, what does that do? One, it addresses a critical need and also provides the feasibility for the EPSMG.
I was one of the people who helped to get things moving, not because the private sector itself, certainly ArcelorMittal was one of the leading companies at the outset who really realized that something needed to be done, that the private sector had a role to play in this as well, that we couldn't just all rely on the government or the public sector to address this. So I had the opportunity when I was back in Washington in early August on the margins of the U.S.-Africa Leaders Summit to meet with representatives of Mittal and a couple of other U.S. Entities to discuss, first of all, what the situation on the ground was, because there was a lot of information in the press, not all of it completely accurate about what was actually happening on the ground.
And we have also contributed some medical equipments, PPE, to the government and to the Ebola task force in Sino, Riversés, and Buchanan.
We construct a building, some ATUs, the 3 center of the treatment in Nimba, here in Bassa, support the hospital with the isolation areas, support the hospital with drugs, support the government with the ambulances.
We started, as soon as Ebola started, we gave a cash donation of $600,000. Liberia got about $100,000 out of that. We didn't stop at that. We observed that transportation was a problem. Moving sick people, carrying sick people and taking them to the ETU or to the treatment center was a challenge. We came back and we donated a truck to the government. And we told the government we were working with them in partnership. As it progresses, we'll come back. As we observed and things were coming up and improving, there was need to be able to reach out to the survivors, to be able to reach out to the ones that are still sick. We came back and UBA donated $1 million, shared across the hotspot areas. Liberia got $300,000 out of that.
Post-Ebola, what do you believe will be Liberia's greatest challenges after the Ebola crisis?
Restoring the economy. Economic recovery is going to be key because Liberia's climate is of such. We only have limited periods in a year to work because of our very heavy rainfalls. And so the time frame we had set for our power expansion, for our road development, of our agriculture, all of those, will be major challenges, and our major preoccupation is how can we accelerate so that we do not lose the time that we have set to be able to achieve our growth targets.
These 3 countries need a lot of support after this disease. Don't stop any support the investment here. The international community need believe in these three countries again and the continued investment. This is the most important.
Our main focus is that we want to bring development to our areas here, and the spin-off is for the betterment of the community.
Salome-Kawa. I'm proud to be one of the survivors from Ebola.
As we continue to strive to save lives and develop Liberia, the private sector and international community can join the battle and make a change, because Liberia believes there is hope.